We're going to take a look at the second lesson for today. Students will solve and graph one-step inequalities. Now we're adding the graphing part. We've already done the solving part. Make sure that you're logged into Clever or iExcel. When you click into the assignment, your name should be in the corner. If it's not, I will not receive your score. So one-step inequalities, you solve them the same way that we did previously. So this says W divided by 2 is greater than or less than 2. So to solve it, you're going to multiply both sides by 2 because you're going to do the opposite. These 2's are going to cancel. The W drops down. The sign stays the same. And 2 times 2 is 4. Now the part that's different is we got to graph it instead of typing in W is greater than or equal to 4. So here's how you graph it. So it says we know that it's 4, so we're going to start on 4. And notice how the circle is filled in. If I click it again, it will be hollow. So when it's filled in, that means equal to. When it's not filled in, it means that it's not equal to. So we're going to have this filled in because it says greater than or equal to. Well, go to the side that is greater than 4. Well, everything to the right of 4 is greater than that. And then you're going to click on the arrow. Notice that's filled in. And then you're going to click submit. That's all there is to it. Whereas if you look at, let's say, this problem, it says 4b is less than 8. And so just like before, you're going to solve it the same way. You're going to divide by 4 on both sides. You do the opposite. The 4's cancel. B drops down. The less than sign drops down. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then we're going to graph it. And so it says 2, so we're going to go to 2. But this time it doesn't have the equals to sign, so we're going to click it again. See how it's an open circle? And it says less than, so everything less than 2. So everything less than 2 would be on the left side of the graph. And so then you just click submit. All right. And so far, we've found out that everything's solved the same way. However, inequalities do have some slight differences. So I'm going to jump ahead here so I can show you those differences. This is, notice how the K now is on the right side of the sign. I want to flip that around to where it says K divided by 2. And then because I put because I've moved this to this side, we're going to flip the sign over. We're basically flipping the problem over. And so because I flipped the problem over and I put the K first, my symbol has to flip. So it went from a greater than sign, and now it's a less than sign. We solve it the same way. So it says divide by 2, so we're going to multiply by 2. These 2's cancel. K drops down. Less than sign drops down. 2 times 2 is 4. And so then we go to our graph, we go to 4, and we say, okay, here's 4. Doesn't have the equal to sign, so we want to open circle. And then everything less than 4 would be to the left. And so then we click submit. And relatively, this is a similar type of problem. So we're gonna jump to a more difficult problem because there's one more thing that is different too. Let's see if we can get one. No. Well, it appears I can't seem to get one, so I'm going to go through these and solve these rather quickly. So I'd add 1 to both sides, and that would mean that K is greater than or equal to 3. And that would give me that. This is what I wanted to show you. So this problem says 12 minus y is greater than or equal to 14. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 12 because that's a positive 12. Now, those 12s cancel. The negative v or minus v drops down. The symbol stays the same. 14 minus 12 is 2. Now keep in mind this is a 1. And so I want to divide by a negative 1 because I just want it to be v. Now, this is the weird part that most people get confused on, so be careful here. V drops down because those cancel each other out. The sign flips the opposite direction. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. Now, what you need to notice is that I divided by a negative. So what happens is this sign flips over. And so then when I graph it, I got negative 2, v is less than or equal to. Now, and then that would be the answer. So let's discuss why that happens. And so if we just use, we're going to ignore this problem for a second. We're not doing this problem. If we just think about the number 8 and negative 8, we know that 8 is greater than negative 8. But if I multiply by negative 2 on both sides, what happens is 2 times 8 is 16. And since it's negative 2, it turns into a negative. Negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. Well, we know that negative 16 is less than 16. See how the sign switched because I multiplied by a negative? The same thing happens, ironically, when you divide as well. So anytime that you multiply or divide by a negative, we'll divide by negative 2 here. And so what happens is that's going to come out to be negative 4. This is going to come out to be positive 4. And then because we know that negative 4 is less than 4, notice the sign switched. This is really important. It's the only time that we do this is when we divide or multiply by a negative. We flip the sign if we divide or multiply by a negative. We also flip the sign if we are flipping the problem over. So for this case, I would do C plus 14, and then I would flip the sign and put 13. So I flipped the sign because I moved this to that side. So the sign has to flip. And so I solve it the same way. I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. C drops down. The 14s cancel. The sign stays the same now that I flipped it. And then 13 minus 14 is negative 1. And then we just go in and graph it with negative 1. It's got the equals to sign. And it says it's greater than. So we go to the side that's greater than negative 1. And we click enter. Again, this one is going to, it has a negative 1 minus f is greater than or equal to 1. So I'm going to start by adding 1 to both sides. And negative f is going to drop down. The 1s are going to cancel. The sign stays the same. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. Again, that's a 1, so I got to divide by negative 1 on both sides. Anytime I divide or multiply by a negative number, I have to flip the sign. Those cancel. Negative 2 goes here. And so then I would graph exactly what it says. Negative 2, it's got the equals to sign, is less than. F is less than, so I want to do the less than sign. And then I'll click submit. So now this is kind of a tricky one because what some people get confused is less than 6t, right? Oh, I want my t on that side, so I'm going to flip it. I'm going to put 6t. I'm going to flip the sign and negative 12. I'm going to divide by 6 on both sides. 6's are going to cancel. T stays the same. 6 is a regular number, so the sign stays the same. Negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2. I only change if what I'm doing is negative. And so then I just graph it. So then negative 2 is here. It's not equals to. And then it says t is greater than. So we go to the greater than side. And stuff. And so then you keep doing that over and over again. So if you move the variable from one side to the other, you have to flip the sign. Or if you divide by a negative number or multiply by a negative number. If you have questions, please feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to Zoom with you if you need it. I hope that you're doing well. Again, once you get to 80, you can stop. Anything above that is extra credit.